Hey everybody, this is kind of a special episode, or not even an episode, special video. Today I have a special guest with me, my mom. Mom, go ahead and say hi.
Hello.
And we're going to be talking about trips we've had to Disney World. That's the one in Florida, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, trips we had to Disney World, and every time something went wrong. So, shall we begin?
Sure.
Alright.
So, the first trip you went on to Disney was your 10th birthday. We got stuck in traffic on the way down there, and the car tried to overheat, which meant the closer we got, it was multiple stops to make sure it didn't break down. We tested it a couple times while we were there, and everything seemed to be okay. And when we left, we went from there over to Daytona to go to the beach, take some pictures, and then head home. And we left Daytona, and before we got to the next exit...
Before we could do anything at Daytona, there was a storm approaching.
Yeah, there was a storm approaching, so we left.
Yeah, couldn't stay there all that long.
But before we could get to the next exit after we left Daytona, the car overheated, totally broke down, and we had to call a tow truck and a cab.
Stayed with cousin for a while.
We stayed with, no, it was an uncle, aunt and uncle. You got to meet some cousins that you hadn't met. We stayed with them for about a week while our car was in the shop, supposedly getting repaired. We finally got the okay to get our car and drove back home. Drove all night long to get home, only to find out, number one, we had no air. It was summertime. It was unbearable. And we got back home and took it in to get it checked out to find out why we had no air conditioner, and they had not hooked everything back up correctly and could have actually caused us to break down and have a wreck. Just thankful we didn't.
Yeah.
While we were there, we had several storms.
Yeah.
Actually had a couple tornado warnings
while we were there.
Yeah. That kind of happens when I travel.
We'll get into that some other time.
Weather that follows me wherever I go.
Yeah, we'll get into that some other time.
Yeah. But yeah, that was your first trip to Disney. It was fun.
Eventful.
Very much so.
Not in the good way.
Right?
So, the second time we went down there was for... What was it for? If anything?
The second time we went... Let's see. I think you went with Mammy before we went again. As a family. You went, just you and her. Spent a few days down there at Disney. And the real kicker was the rain and stuff that you all were trying to beat, and you still ran into it on the way. So you all slowed down and
spent
took your time
$200 on marionette puppets, big old ones.
Yeah.
Wish I still had mine. It was really cool.
Then the next time we went as a family trip. Instead of going strictly to Disney, we stayed in a hotel.
Yep.
And we went to SeaWorld and Universal.
Yeah.
And that was a trip and a half too.
Aren't they all?
Right. Let's see. I think that was the trip that we were at SeaWorld.
Okay.
And we had weather move in. You had actually stayed at the hotel that day. And your sister and I were hanging out at SeaWorld.
Yeah.
And we had weather move in, and we were in the water when it moved in. So we were rushing to try to get out of the water, and we kind of got separated for a little bit and had to find each other again, and then go back to the lockers and prepare to go home because it was not letting up.
Yeah.
So,
Without using names, because I don't want to just drop someone's name, unless I'm doing a, hey, this person is awesome. Let's talk about your time at that Twister ride.
Oh, yeah, that was fun. Don't think that was the same trip.
No,
it was yet another trip.
A different one.
Went to Universal. Went and rode a few rides. One specifically being the Twister ride. It was a really cool ride. So if you get to go, it's something to check out for sure. Especially if you've watched the Twister movie. If it's still there. Especially if you've watched the Twister movie. It was pulled scenes from the movie. It was really cool. But the person that I went with to Universal got scared
They talked
by the Twister. They talked big. They really talked big.
Beforehand.
Talked it up. And we go in. We're seeing scenes from the movie. And then we actually go into where they have a specific scene set up from the movie. And you see how the Twister actually is coming across and all the damage afterwards. And suffice to say, when you go in, you're like on 2 different rows, 2 different levels. And the level that we were on was the lowest level, and we were right in the very front. And I was basically shoved toward the tornado, toward the damage, if you will, the fire and explosions and everything that was going on. They were trying to feed me to it, I do believe. Then we left there, rode a couple other rides, and then had a nice little tornadic adventure of our own because we got stuck going back toward the front of the park, and we actually had wind, very heavy rain, thunder, lightning, you name it, it was going on. We were in an old abandoned ride, just kind of out in the open, and we saw, instead of cows, we had strollers going from end to end. Didn't really see a lot of people out running in that, just trying to take cover. The building that we were like standing at had about 10 to 15 people like trying to take cover in it. Behind us there was an opening where rain could come in, and there was like a gutter, and it was flooding behind us. The road in front of us was flooded, and we were trapped in between. And when we actually got back home, or back to our hotel, we found out that there were actual tornado warnings right where we were. So we were like in the midst of it and had no clue, because we had no way of knowing that's what was going on. Even the folks that were in the building with us had no cell phone activity that could tell us this is what's happening. So it was definitely a very lively experience.
Yeah. And let's see. The last time I remember us going down there for anything was me, you, and Anna at SeaWorld, and I did not enjoy it.
Yeah. That was one of the last times we were down there. We got to swim with the dolphins. You were not a big fan.
No.
Trying to think. I think that was just kind of a chaotic trip.
Yeah.
There really wasn't anything specific that I could say that happened or didn't happen.
Yeah. Nothing really stands out.
Yeah. Y'all did actually meet a couple people couple other kids at the hotel and swam with them, and that seemed to be more enjoyable than SeaWorld was. I think probably the most memorable part of that was Anna and I got sunburn from being at SeaWorld all day. I think mine was worse than hers was. But yeah.
So yeah, any closing remarks you have?
Just beware when traveling with me, because weather likes to follow me wherever I go.
Yeah. Depending on how well this video does, we might talk about all the times we went to Tennessee. We'll see if that actually happens. We might do it just cause. I don't know. Thanks for watching. Give it a like if you enjoyed. I don't know. You do whatever you want. Later.